Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today we are joined by Neil Young, who's the president of Two Ladders. He's got a great story, a company that's, as he described it, I think 11 years in, but still feels like a startup. So we're going to hear more about that. But Neil, first, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do at Two Ladders.
Yeah, thanks. Neil Young, I'm the president of Two Ladders. Started this company 11 years ago. I think it's always important to talk about where you start and where you are today. But when I started this company, we were a marketing ad agency, and so we were always constantly looking at and trying to get across to companies that paying attention to the marketing dollars would really lead to internal process problems. You could pay if you paid attention to the results of what was going on with the money. It would give you a pretty good indication of where your problem points were at within the company. And so we were in that mode for several years. We got an opportunity to help a client source applications. It was a local foundry, and we were, I don't know, 3 or 4 days in, and the client was like, "We can't believe that the results that you guys have been able to drive." And so, after 3 months of working with that one location, it expanded into all 7. And so, at that point in time, we made a decision to pivot. And so, in 2017, we really focused hard on recruitment marketing, which we were really, really good at, 200 to 300% increases. And what we found was that, we were really good at increasing outflow, but without a really good communication line with the HR teams, we lacked in understanding post-application data. And so in 2020, so right after COVID, was when we really started to kind of deep dive into, what are we great at? What are we okay with? And what are we not? Where do we lack? And so we had an opportunity to merge with a company out of Jasper. We're located in Tell City. Tell City, Jasper, Owensboro, and Louisville now is where we've kind of have individuals working and clients in 22 states as of today. And so, what we realized in the merge was that the company we merged with, they had a tech stack. They were doing a lot of the things in an unrelated industry that we were trying to do, understand KPIs, what was going on post, so we could articulate the ROI back to our clients. And so when we made that merge and we started to reskin and tool what they had built, what we found is we built it for us. We wanted to be able to say $1 in yields, and here are the problems in the process. But what came was that companies and recruiting teams and HR teams that were working with us found that our platform was really kind of better than what they had. And so that started a conversation internally about, where are we lacking from an applicant tracking system standpoint? And so for about 2 years, we were taking customer feedback in live development, bringing it into the platform, building it out the way that they wanted it. And in 24 was when we really kind of hit the road on where we are at today. And so, 4 modules now in the company. The recruitment marketing is still there. So we love to broker, client budgets, be able to take what they're currently spending, show them what they're getting from a KPI set, and then be able to, analyze the differences with our mindset. We have the ATS, which clients are actively using just as a standalone platform. We now have a skills module that allows us to show not only the qualifications and how close an individual is to the job that they applied for, but also what other positions or what other jobs might they be suited for today. So if an individual comes into the system and they apply, we can rank them towards the position they applied for on a scale of 1 to 10. It's not to automatically reject that candidate. It is to really be able to give the recruiting team the visibility of which candidates they should move to the top. And then if they aren't qualified for the position they applied for, we have the ability to show how they rank to all of the other open positions that the employer has. And so the hope is that we have the ability to take an individual with intent that wants to work for the company they applied for, and instead of rejecting them, we have the ability to hopefully bring them into another position inside of the company. Um, the last part of that is we also can run development plans based upon what they applied for if they weren't qualified. And so we're attaching now communication with trainers, the ability for employers to get a person in on the ground,
Mhm.
knowing that that's not what they wanted, but now they have visibility of a 6 to 9 month plan to get them where they want to go, along with the areas in that community that provide those training sets. And so really we set up as kind of a platform of opportunity. We want, all of these clients and all of the companies that we work with are paying for every application. What we find is that, recruiters are very siloed in their job recs, and it's, I want to get this job filled, move on to the next
Mhm.
one. And the visibility of those candidates in those silos really kind of get lost. And so, we want to bring visibility to say, if you're not paying attention to all of the applicants, you're going to spend more money. When in reality, you might have the forklift driver that you need already in your group of applications. We just give them the visibility to see it without having to manually search through every single resume to find it. The last module is an API integration. So we have companies that they have teams, they just need help with understanding, where our process is breaking down. What are the most important KPIs that we should really be paying attention to? And so, from that standpoint, they're doing the work. We're just there from a consulting standpoint to say, you know, here are a few red flags. Here's some things you probably ought to look at. And then we can come in and try to navigate those issues and help them smooth the waters on any frictions they might have in their process.
So you have this startup that starts off as a pretty much a pure digital marketing play. You
Yeah,
find this niche in recruiting, and so now you pivot to completely providing a HR recruiting suite. So you just move from the marketing budget to the recruiting or
HR.
HR budget.
Right. And honestly, a lot of individuals, there's not a big difference between the two. If you're selling a watch or you're selling a college, you're also selling a job. And so the goal really is, how can you align the right message with the right individual? So messaging and alignment. Um, the key difference is on the marketing side, the articulation of of KPIs or ROI is a whole lot different, right? Because
Mhm.
there isn't a straight line from the money to the outcome. Whereas on the HR side, there is.
Yeah.
You put the money in, are we getting applications? Perfect. Well, then it's, are the applications we're getting qualified? If not, how do you take that data to back to the front end, pivot your message, pivot your targeting, and where you're putting, the messaging to mitigate any unqualified applicants that are coming through. So it's really it. I think a lot of companies look at platforms as a resource. Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Facebook, Google, they're all there, and we put
Mhm.
content on all of them. And so you get this kind of set it and forget it. We've got our campaigns running. We have app flow coming in, but a lot of times, 90% of the time, clients are like, we're getting enough outflow. We're spending too much time sorting through to find the 5% or so that are qualified.
Yeah.
And so from our standpoint, managing those budgets in real time based upon real time KPIs is really what sets us apart and allows us to make sure that the results and the transparency of what we're doing to clients are always right there for them to see.
Yeah. So for me, the last time I went through kind of recruiting job hunt kind of thing, those tools were just starting to kind of develop. It's been
Right.
10 years, right? 10
Hmm.
years since I was kind of in that role. And I just remember the frustration of as an applicant, like, is my resume even making it to somebody? Is it getting stuck in some
Great
filter
point.
somewhere? Uh, and I quickly decided this is this is not. I went back to the tried and true work your network. Gave up on all the platforms, and I've heard others say the same thing. So, how does your tool
Hmm.
bring greater value to the LinkedIn's, ZipRecruiters, and all those things that seem to be, like you said, creating a lot of resumes, but not really. At least a lot of the people I know that don't feel like they're getting through to to the actual recruiters, to the human beings
Yeah,
that are looking at it.
that's a great question. Every platform has its place, and I think that's the key to what your to your question. You think about Indeed and ZipRecruiter and the job boards. Individuals that are on those platforms have intent. They're looking actively looking for a job. Around
Mm-hmm.
30% of the market across the United States is actively searching for a job, which is great because they're right there. All you have to do is put your content on there and you hope that you match. But you're leaving out a massive subset of really what you should be going towards. And that's, how do you attract the inactive or passive? And
Mm-hmm.
so if you think about the other platforms, what we hear a lot about is just how can I articulate the sources that are actively that are driving not only the applications but the most qualified applicants. And so, a lot of times companies will say, well, you know, we want a low cost per application, which usually yields a lot of applicants, but not a lot of quality. We look at it from a different lens. If we can give you, 25 good quality, applications, and that means 25 people you have to go through to hire one person. If the cost per application is double or potentially even triple, your time saved going through all of the applications to find that one person is drastically reduced. And so, a little education into it, a mind
Mm-hmm.
shift kind of change, but our system is set up, it's all around the applicant. And so you think about this, we go through this every day. You see a piece of content on Facebook, you see, a piece of content, you say something like, I need gutters, and all of a sudden you get hit with a piece of content like, hey, come
Yeah.
and buy your gutters, right?
Right.
If you click on that content and it takes you to something that's different from that first message, individuals are going to disconnect. And so
Mm-hmm.
our goal is, how can we give a potential applicant what they need, one click away from the job that they want to see, and then a very seamless way to quickly apply, getting that individual into the system. And then from there, the recruiters have the ability to text, email. We have automated communications that are set up to where every individual is going to get some sort of a notification that application has been received. One thing that we have found recently that has been kind of a stopgap for people, especially from the recruiter side, is that, I pick up the phone and I call you, John, and in hopes to set an interview with you, and you've never seen my phone number and you think I'm some, spam number.
Right.
And so the system now allows us to set up that text or automated communication back, letting people know, watch for this specific phone number. You will get a call from this specific recruiter. And so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't leave any unknowns on what happens next.
Yeah.
Um, on the flip side of that, if you go to the end of the funnel, think about how many jobs people have applied for. I've done this. I'm sure you have too, where you apply and you were rejected, but the rejection was the end of the conversation. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, why was I rejected? That's the point. That's what everybody wants to know, because they want to be able to make that resume better or get the job skills they need to come back for those jobs. And so, what our platform does is, every single person that applies, we run a development plan for them. That development plan takes their job history and their resume, everything we know about them on paper, and it compares it to what they applied for. And so then what we can do is we could, if they are rejected, instead of getting an email saying we're moving on with another candidate, they're getting a rejection that says that we vetted your information, and for this position you aren't qualified. Here are the training areas that you can go to get these certifications.
Mm.
Here are other positions that we have in that are open currently within our facilities that you could apply for and be hired for today. And so it gives them at least something to grab. And so what we've been talking about is the marketing angle. The employer brand is super important too. I mean, post
Mhm.
COVID, pay is one thing, benefits are another thing. But post COVID culture and work life, a lot of the amenities and things that people really didn't care about post COVID are super important now. And so, making sure that that brand voice is there. Um, if you think about all of the great things that people are saying about your company, and then I apply for a job and it ends with a rejection and nothing else,
Mm.
the vast majority of those companies are still trying to sell me something. So if I get hit with if I apply for a job, Taco Bell, I don't know, I apply for a job at Taco Bell and I get rejected, and then I get online or watch TV and I get hit with a Taco Bell ad, you know, is my taste for Taco Bell better or worse post that
Yeah,
rejection?
kind of turns
And
you off of it, doesn't it?
right, and I just use that as, I don't even know why Taco Bell was where I went. I mean, it could have been
I
anything else,
worked at Yum
but
Brands, so I can.
so there, oh, there you go. So
Yeah.
thinking about what does that rejection mean for your business long term? And so it all ties together. And that's really what
Mhm.
we're trying to get across is that, there's a plethora of KPIs in the entire process. And so
Mhm.
our platform is set up to understand KPIs all the way through, and then be able to, like a flywheel, bring those back to the front, make the pivots and adjustments to what the client is doing, and then be able to then articulate and show what that change meant over the
Mhm.
course of time. And so when we start with a client, it's a lot of learning, a lot of understanding, a lot of education. But in a very short window, 30 to 60 days, we're becoming very predictable and we're able to forecast. And most companies that we work with are having a hard time with those things.
Mhm. It's fascinating. So let's rewind the clock a little bit back
Mhm.
those early days. You you have a marketing background apparently.
I do.
You'd been doing marketing. You're like, hey, you're going to start a marketing company, and then a couple of years in, you realize, hey, there's this new opportunity. I guess it was a little more, about 4 years in or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Describe what I'm just trying to picture the conversation between you. I don't know if you had business partners at the
My
time or
partners.
team members. Explain it. Talk about that. What was that conversation like? Hey, I know we were doing this, but I want to flip over and do this other thing.
You made this statement early. I do feel like we're still a startup, almost 11 years in. Early on, we had an individual that we brought on, had a vast background with Berkshire Hathaway and some different companies. And one thing that he said to me that had always stuck was, let the business tell you what you need to do. And so, paying attention to, you know, the conversations that we were having with our current clients at that point in time, it was all very, how can I show a return on investment in selling jewelry? Um, and how can I articulate, a dollar on Facebook and what that means to my cash register at the end of the day? And so those conversations and those tracking points are vastly different than
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing on the HR side. What's interesting, so my partners didn't really have any pushback. I think we were all pretty collectively together on the decision that, we had found something. And really, to go back even further, my background prior to this was with Wiki and Hot 96 in Evansville, sales on the digital and the radio side, and then management for a stint. Um, And, at the time, Facebook, it was kind of the wild, wild west. There was
Yeah.
no hindrance on how you targeted. And so, you could say, I want to reach people that look just like this in this area with this content. And with little to no money, you could impact the market substantially.
Mhm.
Then they went through lawsuits, discrimination, all of that kind of went, played
Right.
out. And at that point in time, our focus was how can we move the needle with hiring through Facebook and social platforms? Um, when that decision was made, I mean, we walked in and our business was pretty much shut down because the way we did things was they were all gone. Our capabilities were gone. Our ability to target was gone. And so, we ended up, bringing in some specialists that, their focus was on the job board platforms and on the Google side. And
Mhm.
so, now we have individuals on staff that are all very versed in all of the platforms and all of the updates and changes. And so, that's one thing we always tell clients too. You know, Platform changes are in favor of platform most cases.
Yeah.
They're not in favor of your business. They're in favor of your business spending more money.
Exactly.
And so being able to understand those pivots and changes by the platforms and which ones are in the favor of the client and which ones are not. A lot of people are being sold on a lot of things, and if you really dug into their key challenges and problems, there's a mismatch of what they're paying for and the outcomes that they're wanting to get. But early days when there weren't very many of us to make that decision, it was pretty exciting, honestly, because
Mm.
I had been in the marketing side of things for a long, long time. At that point, close to 20 years, I guess. And, this thought of being able to show black and white results and not have to constantly go back and recreate the next sale or recreate the next event. There was a lot of there was some shininess there for me because
Mhm.
it gave us more opportunity to really dig in with our partners at that time to say, what you're doing isn't being done.
Mhm.
And if you stick with us, you're going to continue to see these results. And so, what's very interesting about it is I still have clients today that were amongst the first clients that we had back then.
Mhm.
And so, for them to see where we were, and where we are now, and our ability to constantly bring in new um, opportunities for them, different ways of thinking about things, because we're still looking at it from a marketing angle. Um, we just now have the ability to utilize the platform that we have that really with almost 100% certainty shows what's working, what's not, and then how to pivot to fix it. And in most cases, client budgets haven't gone up in years. Uh,
Mhm.
because the efficiencies that we've built in over the course of years have allowed them to maintain budgets, sometimes even lower them, and still get the same end result. And it's
Yeah.
because of the constant paying attention of what's going on in the market and the KPIs.
Yeah. So I was thinking about you're obviously the visionary in this organization. Uh, what was what was the biggest surprise to you coming from, I mean, in a more traditional marketing role, sales and marketing role and radio and things like that? Again, I'm familiar a
Mhm.
little bit with that industry. It's very different from what you're doing in a lot of ways. So now
Yeah.
you're in this kind of visionary entrepreneurial role. What was the biggest surprise for you? What was the unexpected aspect of that?
I would have to say it's probably the legality around what you could and couldn't do in the HR
Mm.
world when it came to attracting or personal information. Would probably be the one thing. So I guess navigating an industry that had very clear red tape. And so how
Yeah.
and I think the other side of it was, how could you make hiring creative? How could you make it fun?
Yeah.
in where it was very, newspaper at the time, right? And
Yeah.
so, I think that was the one. The other side of it was I had never lived in the development world, so that actually got me in trouble because I do see things, or try to see things far out.
Hmm.
Um, but the one thing that I found was that every client meeting, every new conversation, individuals were giving us really a roadmap. And that was, here are the things that my system does not have that I wish it did. And the moment that I would hear those things, I would go right into the development team saying, can we do this? How would it work? How does it funnel into what we're currently doing? And then within, a couple of days, I would have, kind of a roadmap on how we would do it, and then we would develop it. And so, using recruiter feedback, we're using like the holes and the gaps of a lot of the other systems have already been put in place, has allowed us to really kind of look at, what's good, what's bad, and how do we build something that is equally as good, but then fills the gaps with all of the things that are lacking in the other systems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's been the funnest part for me.
Yeah. It was fun. You just used fun again. You said a few minutes ago, you brought fun into the HR, and I've worked a lot with HR people over the years, and yeah, fun is not always the first word that comes out of your mouth, and most
Right.
HR people would admit that. If any of you listening, I'm not picking on you. It's just it is. I mean, like I said, it's legalities, it's rules, it's following the paperwork, it's did you document
Yeah.
everything? That's the HR world. So how are they in being receptive to this marketing perspective?
Uh, I the clients that we have,
Yeah.
the partners that we have are very receptive. We I always tell new clients that come on, the moment the contracts are signed, your problems become our problems. And so, you know, I, I I think the part of that statement is, we are, Two Ladders was named Two Ladders to be an extension of our client's brand. And
Mm.
so being able to be an extension of these HR teams, especially the ones that are small, the ones that are still using spreadsheets and still saying, that hiring is difficult, those are the ones that we really want to work with, because we've been able to show that all things on the hiring side are possible. It's just having the visibility of where you're putting the money, the results it's driving, and the ability to pivot it. All of those subsets are there. It's just not, most companies aren't looking at the full scope of the KPIs. Um, the one thing that I really do enjoy about where we are as a company, especially with the clients that we work with, is they call us and they're like, "This is an issue that I'm struggling with. Can we discuss? Are there things that you guys could bring to the table to fix it?" And so, we've done massive data projects, understanding perceptions in markets. What is the perception around manufacturing in a specific state? And then how do you take those data sets and build out the client's messaging to break those perceptions down? And so,
Mhm.
you know, what I love about it is when you have projects that are like that, or you meet with companies that are just struggling so badly, and then within 30 days you're able to flip it, and they're like, "How did you do this?" And
Mm.
and the moment that happens, then we're a part of that group long
Yeah.
term, right? And
Yeah.
so our goal is to never be an expense. I've talked about this a lot, and it's probably a bad angle for me, but this thought of being a net neutral expense for companies is really where I would like to continue to stay. And
Mhm.
that's if companies are willing to give us 30 to 90 days, not changing anything about their budgets, just let us take the money, do what we do with it with our mindset, they're going to see a result, and
Mhm.
it's going to be a positive one. The great part about it is that in that period of time, we're going to be able to show a lot of things. We're going to be able to say for certain, is it the money? or is it the platforms? Is it the messaging? Is it your process? Is it your time to fill, or your speed to candidate? There's just so many things that play into a negative outcome.
Mhm.
And most HR groups want to look at those things, but they don't
Yeah.
have time to. And so our system was built for them to be able to literally be able to see those KPIs and those data sets in real time, day over day, right inside the platform, to be able to make those decisions. And so what we have become for most HR groups uh, is their segue to the C-suites and to the executive teams to say, here are the data sets that we now have that shows we need more money. And if we need the money, here's what the data says, that if we add an additional $1,000 or 2,000, whatever the number is, this is what we can predict. And so when you
Mhm.
think about manufacturing, you've got companies bringing in new lines, you have companies that are expanding their footprints. And so, if you can understand what is how many applications do I need to fill one role? What is the time it takes to get an application from applicant to hire? What is my cost per application? And then what is the time to fill? It's a mathematical equation. And so
Yeah.
it's really easy to look at someone and say, if you've got to hire 500 people for this production line, it starts in August, we need to start in January. And here are the data
Mhm.
sets that show it. And so I think it's a different approach for people because
Yeah.
they've never looked at it from that lens. That is also the reason why it takes a long time for us to close new business, and it's
Yeah.
because
You're bringing a mathematical equation to a human issue, right?
right, and they've never seen it.
Yeah.
They've never looked at it from that lens, and
Right.
so
Right.
it's not like it's, well, that's, I've heard this and I'm familiar with it. This is a different approach, and it's not something that we've discussed. And so it takes time for us to go through the chains to get the approvals.
Yeah.
So
And I know you've got, as we kind of wrap up a couple things, but you are, just so people know who you serve. You serve some huge companies as well
we
as
do.
some very small companies. You're in manufacturing,
Yeah,
healthcare. You're in a lot of different fields too. True.
we are. Yeah. Several tier one automotives, several tier one manufacturing. We've got several healthcare facilities. Um, we support several supply chains.
Mhm.
And our long-term goal is, and we have a lot of smaller, one, two people HR groups.
Mhm.
The results for the small and the results for the large, they're all the same,
Yeah.
because it's all relevant, right? And so what we're working on, and our long-term goal, and we're not far away from this, is the ability. So the company Two Ladders, when we were thinking about the name for the ATS system, we landed on My2L. And the reason we landed on My2L is because we wanted, at some point in time, we wanted to be able to extend this knowledge that we've built over the course of time to any and all size companies. And
Mhm.
so our future forecasting is to allow individuals to come in and really self-serve what their needs are through the platform. And so um, the goal for that is to roll that out in Q4 of 26. And when that happens, uh, inside the platform, there's all types of ways. We all of our past KPIs and data sets and the ways that we put together our budgets, they're all in there for
Mhm.
individuals at some point to access. Putting your zip codes, understand a couple of key points that we need to articulate, and then the system will produce the budgets. And
Mhm.
so we've been testing the budgets to the results to make sure that it lines up, and it does. And so now we're working on, what does the user interface look like? how would individuals interact, not only with the platform, but then how would our individuals internally interact with those companies. So the process of bringing them into the system would be pretty seamless. Um, if we can get that done, and I know we can, then that I think is a game changer, because from what I can tell, it doesn't exist. And so we've got some really big plans and some really big goals. And the hope is that this podcast is a part of it, to get the word out that we exist. Most people hear from us or know that we're here in really two ways. You're referred by another group, or I personally, see a company that I think that we can help, and I'll pick up the phone and say, I think that you're a perfect candidate for what we're trying, what our platform could provide. And then we go from there. And so for us, it's, this year is all about mass growth. And so I just appreciate you taking the time to hear what we have going on.
Yeah, it's a great story, and I'd heard about you all probably a year or so ago, and I'm glad we were able to finally kind of connect. I felt so it's just I feel your passion. It just comes through the screen, and also, it's fascinating when I love it when people just come up with a new solution for an old problem. Because for people who go, oh, everything that's AI is going to rule the world and all this kind of stuff. The reality is there's so many new ways to bring these tools and impact something. I mean, hiring people is about as old an art that we've dealt with, and we've seen lots of iterations in it. And I'm excited that you're bringing. One of the most exciting things for me about your all's platform is that idea of saying, hey, Johnny, you're not a qualified for this forklift operator over here, but based on your resume, you could probably be this, warehouse guy over here, and it makes close to the same, and you can learn how to get, make that gap. To me, that's just a powerful tool that is missing in the world today.
And one thing that I skipped over as we were talking through, obviously manufacturing, healthcare. Right now, we're in a lot of really big conversations from state levels, and so what we're trying to accomplish is, if the employers are spending the money to bring these individuals into their ATS and into their process, and the state is funding, skilling up, training. And then you have the trainers and the community colleges that are offering it. What we found is that all of the data on what is needed from a state level to make, to produce the grants that are funding the trainings, it's all there.
Yeah.
But it's all in different silos, and it's all pointed in different directions. And so right now we're having some conversations about how can we connect the dots with individuals that apply for these jobs that are rejected and the development plan is ran. How can we, and this is the legality of it, right? So we're trying to work through this, but how can we then bring those individuals into the visibility of the training groups that could put them into the training, and then it would be a straight line back to those employers that brought them to the training in the first place. And so, if we can pull that off, which I think we can, then again, I think that's the big problem for me, John. We can help companies all day, and we are. But then when I start to see like all of these, areas where the data sets aren't connected, it's like, if we could just connect this with this.
Yeah. Well, I see my state unemployment too, right?
We get full visibility.
Yeah, take everybody on unemployment, take their resume and say, here's all the jobs out there that you should be applying for. Or,
here are the skills gap that you have to what you want to have. And here is the area that can provide that training. And then once you're trained, it's just a direct line right back into the funnel of the employer that you applied for in the beginning. So we got a lot of things going on, more things going on than I can manage. But I do the best that I can. So we're excited. We're excited about the future. We're excited about where we're going. And I really do appreciate the time just to have a conversation about it.
Well, I appreciate your story, and I try to bring real stories of people who've founded businesses and the real struggles, but also the real dreams, because this is how we spread the word and encourage each other. So I think you've got a very encouraging story. Someone who's been steadily growing and got the potential to really make a huge impact in the world. So that's pretty cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, from Tell City, Indiana.
Tell City, Indiana. If you ever want to do a second segment, we could just do all of the trials and tribulations that got us here. That's the story for
we didn't even dive into those. Maybe we do a part 2.
Yeah, I'll bring my staff and our spouses in on that one, and you can get a true statement of how fun this has been. But I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the point, though, right? I mean, nothing is easy, especially when you're trying to do something that's a little bit different than what people have been used to. And so that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish. How do we do something different? But at the end of the day, how do we solve problems? And that's what we're doing. So appreciate the time.
Great. Very cool. And hopefully some folks will check out Two Ladders and find you as a great solution and partner for them, because I hear it all the time. Finding the right people is one of the biggest challenges today. So
our website is easy to find, twoladders.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Always down to just have a conversation. I think that's the easiest way. It's not about selling anything. It's about what are your needs, and if we can't help you, we have a lot of connections that, we push people in different directions. It just depends on what the need is. And in most cases we can, but when we can't, we refer out to other groups. And so, at least I think the key is just talking, communication. What are the key problems? What are the challenges? And on the top of that, like, if you fix these challenges, what does it mean? And I think that's the big takeaway. And so, before we go, just one thing I'd like to just throw in here. We had a client come to us. This has been, still a client, started with us at the end of 24, and they were at 40+% staffing agencies and temp work. And they wanted that to drop to 20. That was the key challenge. And so what we were able to do is in right around 7 months, we were able to take them from 40% to 0%, no temps. Wow. So that cost savings to them was right at 1.6 million. They were able to take that, and they didn't put it to the bottom line. They put it into their benefits packages. And so what we've been able to do is not only track the fact that they now have, a better employer brand, a better internal culture, but they also have a better retained workforce, because they were able to provide them with additional amenities to get them to stay. And so, you put that in perspective, and if I told you how much they spent to do that, you would think I'm crazy, because it was not a lot. It was just a different viewpoint on how to get there. That they didn't have at the time, but now that they have it, it's it's been very simple for us to get there. And so, and I have a bunch of stories like that one, but that's one that really resonates. Yeah.
Well, Neil, thank you for coming on the program, and hopefully this will help spread the word of Two Ladders.
Thank you.
And we look forward to staying in touch with you as well.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.